There was a great teacher in India. His name was Vivekananda. Vivekananda came to this country in the early part of the 20th century, a divine spiritual master. He was a great teacher of Paramahansa Yogananda, Sri Yukteswar, so many of the great teachers of the 20th century, Sai Baba, Muktananda. Vivekananda was this brilliant man who came to the West. And he was always asked the question, how do I get to this place where I can access this divine? How do I fill myself with this kind of love in such a world? How can I do this when I'm encountering the opposite so frequently? You know, they used to say of Jesus that when he would go into a village, just his presence in the village and nothing more would elevate the consciousness of the entire village. There are people that you know, when they walk into the room, the energy of the room changes. I knew that with Mother Teresa. Seeing her in the room in Phoenix, Arizona, I watched the energy of the room change when she walked in there. And I like to think that that's something that as I get better and better at this divine love, this absence of judgment, criticism, condemnation, that I can really change you can change it through silence. I spend much more time in silence, even in places where there's conversation going on, knowing that if I just can send a kind of acceptance and a kind of love, even where I'm hearing things that I don't particularly agree with my ego doesn't agree with, that I can absolutely help make that shift. And Vivekananda was asked that question, and this is what he said. He said, in the springtime, go out and observe the blossoms on the fruit trees. He said, the blossoms vanish as the fruit grows. So too will the lower self, the ego, vanish as the divine grows within you. This isn't about reaching in and taking all of the crap out. It's about filling your inner world with so much love and so much acceptance and kindness and joy and peace and love towards everything and everyone. Being able to do that it forces out the lower self, the ego, which is based upon I am separate from everyone else, I'm in conflict with everyone else, I must win, I have to compete, and I'm separate from God. That's the ego. And that stuff just starts to go out as the divine grows within you, and you see the unfolding of God in everything and everyone. You can't get that door open if the divine beings who are pure love, the transcendent beings, the ascended masters, the Saint Germains, the Jesuses, all of the ascended, all of those who are living in God consciousness, God realization, they have to recognize themselves in you in order for them to be able to guide you. If you are coming from hatred, anger, bitterness, tension, revenge, hatred, if you're coming from that in any way in your heart, the door just simply will not be opened. It's not like you're going to get punished and you're going to get hit over the head and bad things are going to happen to you. It's that you cannot access this divine guidance, this assistance from this realm. And this, this is what Lao Tzu said to this in the Tao Te Ching. The mystical techniques for achieving immortality are revealed only to those who have dissolved all ties to the gross worldly realm of duality, conflict, and dogma. When you succeed in connecting your energy with the divine realm through high awareness and the practice of undiscriminating virtue, that transmission of the ultimate subtle truths will follow. That's very powerful words because they can't recognize you. And that's why the only way you can ever come to know God and make conscious contact with God is when you are in silence
There is a great illusion that quietly governs so many lives. A silent myth we inherit, not through conscious choice, but through the habitual repetition of thought. And that myth is this, that the past, the wake behind us, somehow determines where we are headed. That the trail we leave, the mistakes we've made, the wounds we carry, the identities we've assumed, these are the engines of our future. But let us begin this moment, this breath, with a radical truth. The wake does not drive the boat. Close your eyes if you can. Feel the energy of that statement, not just with your ears, but with your being. The wake is nothing more than a trail of disturbed water. It is the evidence of where you've been, not the force that carries you forward. The engine is now, the rudder is choice, and the sea ahead is untouched, limitless, unconcerned with what lies behind. The ego, however, lives in reverse. It worships history. It tells you that who you were is who you must be. It reminds you again and again of what hurt, what failed, what was said, what was done, and it sells you the lie that these echoes determine your destiny. But the soul, the soul is not interested in echoes. The soul speaks in whispers of potential, not the noise of regret. It nudges you forward, always forward, never backward. You are not your story. You are not your name. You are not your wounds. You are not the patterns of your parents, nor the failures of your youth. You are not your mistakes, nor are you your achievements. You are not even your thoughts. You are the awareness behind it, all the vast, infinite presence that watches the play of memory without becoming it. We must awaken to this. No amount of looking behind you will ever steer you forward. No amount of regret will ever open the gates of freedom. You are here, now. And this moment, this sacred, unrepeatable now, is your access point to power. The divine does not live in your memories. The divine lives in the aliveness of presence. Let go of the identity that was constructed from the past. It is not your truth. It is merely a shell, a costume, a temporary role played in the theater of time. You are not here to repeat scenes. You are here to awaken, to remember the eternal, changeless spirit that you are, to return to the knowing that you are more than the circumstances you've survived. Imagine a boat gliding across the water, behind it, a churning white trail. That is the wake, chaotic, visible, but utterly powerless to move the vessel forward. If you were to ask, what makes the boat move? Would you point to the wake? No. You would point to the engine, and the engine is within you. It is your thoughts, your focus, your choice to return to the present. It is your decision to drop the heavy bags of resentment, blame, and shame, and instead lift your hands to the sky of possibility. And yet, how many of us live as if the wake has control? We say, I can't love fully because I was abandoned. I can't succeed because I failed before. I can't forgive because I was hurt. But hear this, these are not facts. These are decisions dressed as conclusions. And any decision made in fear can be unmade in love. Forgiveness is not for the past. Forgiveness is freedom from it. And when you truly understand that the wake does not drive the boat, you will no longer be chained to what was. You will begin, finally, to live what is. The mind, when left untrained, is like a boat without a captain drifting wherever the winds of memory take it. But your soul, your higher self, is the captain. It is the still point of clarity. And when you surrender the illusion of control, the illusion of certainty, the illusion of being right, something miraculous happens. You begin to glide through life with grace. This is not passivity. This is power. It is the sacred power of surrender, not surrendering to defeat, but surrendering to truth. And the truth is, the past cannot be changed, but your relationship to it can. The past is not your prison. It is your teacher. But you must stop worshiping it as if it is your identity. Release the need to retell the story of your pain. Drop the need to explain your limitations. Let go of being the victim, the struggler, the one who almost made it. These identities are just anchors in the water. The moment you untie from them, you sail. You were never meant to drag your history into every present moment. Life is not asking you to carry your old self. It is asking you to rise, to evolve, to awaken to the beauty that is here, now, always. What if today you stopped rehearsing your regrets? What if today you refused to be defined by your suffering? What if today you looked at your wake, the broken pieces, the sorrow, the lost time, and you whispered, "Thank you for the lessons. Now I choose to move on." This is not spiritual bypassing. This is spiritual responsibility. It takes courage to move forward without dragging the past behind you like a worn-out coat. But I promise you, freedom lives on the other side of that release. You cannot sail to a new shore if you are anchored in a harbor of pain. You cannot hear the voice of your soul if you are always listening to the echoes of yesterday. And you cannot create a life of joy if you are addicted to the narrative of suffering. You are not here to be a historian of your wounds. You are here to be a creator of healing, a builder of beauty, a vessel for peace. You are not the storm. You are the ocean, vast, deep, unshaken. Let go of the fear that if you release the past, you'll lose who you are. That fear is a lie. You will not lose yourself. You will meet yourself maybe for the first time. You will meet the self that was never broken, never small, never lacking. The self that existed before the story, before the wound, before the name. That self is not moved by opinion, not confined by time, not disturbed by change. It is divine. It is eternal. And it is you. You've been taught to identify with the marks left by life, the scars, the memories, the bruises of time. But I invite you now to shift your gaze. Look not at what happened, but at what is emerging. The wake is gone, the present is alive, and your soul is ready. You can choose to live with the engine of your awareness fully ignited, charting a course that is not dictated by fear, but inspired by love. Or you can keep looking behind you, hoping that certainty lies in the familiar. But hear me now. What is familiar is not always what is true. And what is true is that you are free. You are free to release the guilt, free to forgive yourself, free to step out of the costume you've worn for so long and say, I am ready to return to the truth of who I am. And who you are is not the wake, it is the wave, it is the wind, it is the witness to it all. Do you know what the wake truly represents? It is not only your past actions, it is also your past reactions, your interpretations, your judgments, your internal dialogues about what occurred. The past is not just what happened, it's what you told yourself about what happened. And that narrative is what keeps so many souls bound to sorrow. But here's a powerful truth. Interpretations can be changed, and when they are, the emotional chain to the past dissolves. You can look back and see betrayal, or you can look back and see the unraveling of illusions. You can see rejection, or you can see redirection. You can see failure, or you can see refinement. This is not delusion, it is perception infused with wisdom. It is choosing to see with the eyes of the soul rather than the lens of the ego. The ego clings to wounds as proof of identity, but the soul sees every event as a stepping stone, not a gravestone. We are not here to preserve the past. We are here to be transformed by the now. There's a moment subtle but holy when you realize you can drop the rope that's tied to that thing someone said, that event that didn't go as planned, that year you lost yourself, that version of you who didn't know better. You can drop the rope and you will not fall. You will float, you will rise. It is your clinging that weighs you down, not the past itself. The past is done, the moment has passed. But the clinging, the retelling, the recycling, that is what creates the heaviness. So the question becomes, are you willing to travel light? Are you willing to walk into this new moment without dragging every yesterday behind you like a sack of broken mirrors? Are you willing to speak to your own heart and say, I forgive you, not because you did everything right, but because I no longer want to live in punishment? Forgiveness is not weak. Forgiveness is the highest expression of spiritual strength. It is the power to say, I remember, but I no longer suffer. It is the ability to step into your life without the story dragging at your heels. It is looking into the eyes of your reflection and seeing someone who has grown, not someone who has failed. If the wake does not drive the boat, then let us stop looking behind us when we steer. Let us stop consulting old pain for new direction. Let us stop returning to the scene of the wound and calling it home. The soul lives in forward motion. The soul does not repeat. It evolves. It flows like a river that does not apologize for its path. It does not ask permission to continue. It simply follows the pull of gravity, the gravity of truth, and that gravity is pulling you now, away from fear, away from shame, away from blame, and toward the infinite sea of who you truly are. Can you feel that pull? It's quiet. It's not the loud voice that says you should have known better or you'll never be enough. That's the voice of the conditioned mind. The voice of old programming, the voice that got its instructions from a society more invested in conformity than consciousness. The real voice, the voice of the self, does not shout. It whispers. It says, you are already free. You just have to stop telling the story of why you're not. There is no salvation in the story. There is only freedom in the surrender. Let go. Not in theory, not as an idea, but in this moment, right now, breathe in, let go of who you were. Breathe out, let go of who they were. Let it all dissolve like mist in morning light. The moment you let go, you are reborn. The moment you choose to bless the wake instead of curse it, you begin to rise. Because the wake has no more power over you than you give it. You are not a victim of your history. You are the creator of your destiny. But destiny is not written in memory, it is written in movement. And movement requires release. Release the need to understand everything that happened. The ego is obsessed with explanation. It wants to know why they left, why you failed, why it broke, why it didn't go as planned. But the soul knows that healing is not an equation. It's a letting go. It's a softening. It's a return to the now. Do you want to heal? Then stop rehearsing. Stop reliving. Stop waiting for closure from people who were never meant to complete you. Stop needing to know all the reasons. Life is not a courtroom. You are not on trial. You are free to walk out of the prison even if no one explains why you were locked up. Let go. Let go not because it erases what happened, but because it restores who you are. And who are you? You are awareness. You are peace. You are the witness of this moment. You are the presence that sees without judging, that loves without clinging, that breathes without resisting. You are not the character in the storm. You are the sky in which the storm happens. All pain is a resistance to the now. All suffering is a belief that this moment should be different. But when you stop resisting, the suffering ends. When you stop telling life it should have been another way, peace begins. This is the paradox. You gain control by letting go. You move forward by releasing. You arrive by no longer needing to arrive. You become whole by no longer seeking completion. There is nothing to fix. There is only something to remember. And what you must remember is that the wake is just water. It is not your identity. It is not your future. It is not your truth. You are the boat. You are the wind. You are the wave. And you are the captain. The choice is yours now, to continue pointing backward or to face the open sea with courage, to replay or to rebirth, to suffer or to soar. There is no right time, there is only right now. And now is always enough. There is a quiet revolution happening in your soul, a gentle rebellion against the tyranny of yesterday. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't wait for applause. It rises like the tide, invisible but unstoppable. It rises not to destroy the past, but to transcend it, to outgrow it, to say, thank you for the experience, but I am not staying there. You were never meant to live in reverse. The mind, conditioned by the ego, obsesses over past errors and future fears. But your soul, it lives in the sacred now. It whispers truth into the space between thoughts. And its message is always the same. Return to presence. Let go. Be still. You are already home. Why do we believe the past holds more truth than the present? Because we've been trained to measure life by memory, to believe that what happened is more real than what is happening. But reality is not in the mind's museum of yesterday. Reality is right here in the breath, in the beat of your heart, in the awareness reading these words. You do not have to carry the weight of old identities any longer. They are not who you are. They are who you thought you had to be to survive, to belong, to be accepted in a world that forgot how to see the soul. But you have remembered. You wouldn't be here listening if you hadn't. Something within you is stirring, cracking open. The truth of your being is emerging through the shell of your story. There are no justified resentments, not because the pain wasn't real, but because your healing matters more than your history. You cannot drink poison and expect someone else to suffer. You cannot cling to bitterness and hope for joy to grow. You must become ruthless in your forgiveness, not for them, for you, so that you can be light again. Let go of the idea that people owe you closure. That is the language of ego. The soul knows that closure is not given, it is chosen. It is an inner declaration. I will no longer wait for the past to fix itself before I allow myself to be free. The wake does not drive the boat. It may ripple, it may roar, it may foam with the memories of 1,000 storms. But it cannot dictate your direction unless you turn to follow it. And why would you? When everything you've ever sought is in front of you, not behind you. Peace is here. Love is here. God is here. Not in the past, not in the future. Here. You've been taught that to change your life, you must work harder, try more, do better. But the truth is far more elegant. To change your life, you must change your relationship with thought. You must stop letting your mind bully your soul. You must return to the seat of your power, the stillness beneath it all. What if you simply stopped arguing with the past? What if you chose right now to bless it instead? What if you thanked every painful chapter for teaching you what love is not, so you could finally discover what love truly is? The wake cannot hurt you. It has no substance. It's made of movement, not matter. But when you replay it in your mind, when you rehearse the anger, the disappointment, the shame you give it, form again, you breathe life into a ghost. And that ghost sits in the captain's chair and steers you toward more of the same. You are the captain, reclaim the wheel. The mind may resist, it may say, but they were wrong, but I was hurt, but it's not fair. And that's okay. Let the mind protest, but do not let it lead. Let the thoughts come like birds, but do not build nests for them. Watch them fly and return to presence. Every day you carry your story is a day you delay your freedom. You are not bound by the events of your life. You are bound only by the meanings you've assigned to them. So revise the meaning. See your scars not as proof of suffering, but as evidence of survival. See your failures not as losses, but as sacred redirections. See your losses not as punishments, but as invitations to remember the impermanence of form. Everything that was taken from you has made space for what cannot be taken your soul. There is a deeper you that has never been touched by trauma, never bruised by betrayal, never lessened by lack. That self cannot be harmed. It is eternal, invisible, unshakable. And it is the you that drives the boat, if you let it. The wake may tell a story, of brokenness, but the current of now, it flows with wholeness. It knows where to take you. It knows what you need. It knows how to heal you without your effort, without your analysis. It simply asks you to let go of control and trust the unfolding. This is the holy paradox. The moment you stop chasing healing, you begin to be healed. The moment you stop fixing yourself, you realize you were never broken. The moment you stop managing your life like a machine and start living it like a miracle, everything changes. Let it go. Let it all go. Not to forget, but to forgive. Not to ignore, but to transcend. Not to abandon, but to bless. And in that letting go, you will finally be carried. Not by effort, not by willpower, but by grace. Grace is the silent power that moves through your life when you stop trying to control the river. It is the divine GPS recalculating, rerouting, redeeming every moment you thought was wasted. Grace doesn't need a plan. It needs your permission. And when you say yes to now, grace floods in. It heals you in ways you never could have planned. It restores what you thought was lost. It rewrites the script in a language of peace. And all it asks is that you stop pretending the wake can lead you. So here you are, at the edge of yourself, not the self you've tried to protect or prove or polish, not the image you've curated to please the world or the narrative you've whispered to avoid discomfort, but the real you, the eternal, infinite, unburdened being you were before the story began. You've arrived not because you pushed harder, not because you fought your way here, but because something inside you stopped clinging. Something inside you chose the radical act of surrender. And in that surrender, you remembered the wake does not drive the boat. All along, the river was flowing. All along, grace was moving. All along, life was not punishing you, it was preparing you. And all along, you were already enough. You never had to drag your wounds like trophies. You never had to use your past as a passport. You never had to convince the world you deserved to move forward. You only had to remember you are the boat, not the wake. Let the tears come, if they come, not as sorrow, but as cleansing, not as grief, but as recognition. This is not the end. This is the return. This is the moment when the past unhooks from your spine and you stand finally without the weight of who you were. Feel it. The lightness, the spaciousness of this breath, the sacred silence between your thoughts. This is home, not the memories, not the names, not the explanations. This presence, this is who you are. You are not what happened. You are what remains. You are not the echo. You are the voice. You are not the history. You are the awareness watching it pass. You are not broken. You are the light that shines through the cracks. You are not the wake. You are the wind in the sails of now. And so I leave you with this. No matter what the world told you, you are free. No matter what your mind repeats, you are enough. No matter what happened before, the sacred now is untouched and it is yours. Go forward, not as someone trying to escape the past, but as someone who no longer needs it to feel real. Go forward, not as a survivor, but as a creator. Go forward, not because the wake is gone, but because you've stopped letting it lead. Sail now, not because you must, but because you can. Sail with trust, with openness, with grace. And when the past calls out to you, when it rises in the rear view like a familiar ghost, smile gently. Place your hand on your heart and say, I bless you, but I no longer follow you. Then turn your face toward the horizon, wide, wild, limitless, and step fully into the radiant now, because this is your time, and this is your truth, and this is your life. And finally, you remember the wake does not drive the boat. You are not your wounds. You are not the ache that once hollowed your chest at midnight, not the trembling voice that broke beneath the weight of unspoken words, not the betrayal that split your trust wide open like thunder tearing the sky. You are not the memories that haunt you or the names you were called when the world forgot how to be kind. You are not the pain. You are the awareness of the pain. You are the light that observed it all, silently, eternally. When you were born, you didn't arrive carrying stories of inadequacy. You didn't cry because you were ashamed. You didn't question your worth. You came as pure presence, without labels, without bruises, without wounds. You came from the infinite, dipped in divine essence, kissed by the breath of the eternal. That sacred truth has never left you. It only became buried beneath the rubble of human experience. What if I told you that nothing that has ever happened to you has the power to define you unless you let it? What if your trauma is not your identity, but a teacher that came in disguise? What if the greatest heartbreaks are not there to destroy you, but to awaken the part of you that no longer needs to be validated by anything external? What if your suffering was a seed, and now is the season to let it bloom into wisdom? There is a voice within you that has never been hurt. There is a presence in you that has never been abandoned. There is an essence so whole, so untouched by the illusions of this world, that even your deepest wound cannot reach it. That is who you are. You are the sky. Your pain is the passing weather. The ego wants to replay the hurt, keep the wound alive, make it your name, your badge, your narrative. It will tell you, you are broken, you are unsafe, you are unworthy. But who is this you that hears those words? Who is the one watching those thoughts arise? That is your soul. That is the witness. That is the still, timeless you. And the moment you identify with that eternal presence, you become free. Freedom isn't about changing what happened, it's about changing your relationship to what happened. You can't rewrite the past, but you can choose whether to relive it or release it. Every time you touch a memory and give it permission to pass through you without clinging to it, you heal. Every time you refuse to define yourself by your scars, you reclaim your power. Every time you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? You step into the sacred alchemy of transformation. The wound is not who you are. The wound is where the light entered. There is an old Sufi proverb that says, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And so often we misinterpret this as meaning we must stay wounded to be spiritual. But that is not what the mystics meant. The light enters through the wound, yes, but it does not stop there. It enters so it may heal, and in healing, it reveals to you what has always been whole. You are not your brokenness. You are the light that came to mend it. You see, the universe doesn't make mistakes. There are no accidental souls. You came here with a blueprint, with purpose written into your very cells, and no amount of suffering can erase that. In fact, the pain may be the path that leads you home. The shattered places, they are not your shame. They are your initiation. The philosopher Heraclitus once said, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he is not the same man. You are not who you were when the pain found you. You have changed, grown, unfolded. And now you are standing on the edge of becoming. Forgive yourself for the ways you coped when you didn't know how to heal. Forgive yourself for clinging to identities rooted in survival. Forgive yourself for believing the lies of the ego when you were too weary to hear the truth of your soul. There is nothing in you that needs to be fixed, only remembered. You are not a project. You are a presence. The spiritual journey is not about becoming something. It is about unbecoming everything that is not truly you. It is the shedding of stories, of wounds, of masks. It is the return to essence, to that silent space within where nothing has ever been broken. Think of a tree that has been struck by lightning, the bark scorched, a branch fallen. But look again in the spring. See the new leaves sprouting, the sap still rising, life continuing its sacred rhythm. The wound is part of its story, yes, but it is not the whole story. And so it is with you. The ego will say, protect yourself. The soul will say, open. The ego will say, you are damaged. The soul will whisper, you are divine. The ego will say, stay in fear. The soul will sing, love anyway. The healing begins not when the pain ends, but when the identification with the pain ends. When you stop saying, this is who I am, and start saying, this is what I experienced, and I am the one who witnessed it all. You are the witness, the awareness, the vast open field of presence in which all things come and go. You are not your wounds. You are the love that survived them. You are not your wounds. You are not what they did to you. You are not what you lost. You are not the rejection, the abandonment, the silence, or the noise. Those were moments, not definitions. Those were storms, not structures. The sacred architecture of your soul remains untouched. You are not here to be defined by the chapters that brought you pain. You are here to realize you are the author, not the page. There is a stillness that lives beneath all things. Beneath the chaos, beneath the sorrow, beneath the name you were given and the roles you perform, there is a holy silence that has never been disturbed. It is the part of you that watched you cry and did not crumble. It is the part of you that walked through fire and still whispered love to the world. That part of you is not your story. It is your soul. It is the eternal you before the world told you who to be. And the truth is, your wounds do not make you weak. They make you wider. They open the heart, stretch the spirit, expand the soul. They are not signs of failure. They are invitations to remember your wholeness. Every time your heart broke, it was not the end. It was a cracking open, a sacred rupture through which something larger could be born. Pain is a holy messenger. It arrives not to punish, but to reveal. It is the finger pointing back to the presence within you that never left, even in the darkest hours. And yet, we resist it. We numb it, we shame it, we bury it beneath the noise of distraction, but pain unacknowledged becomes the prison. Pain embraced becomes the portal. When the Buddha said, life is suffering, he was not cursing existence, he was blessing it with honesty. He was inviting us to stop running, because it is only when we stop running from pain that we can finally meet the presence that transcends it. That presence is you. You are not your wounds. You are the unchanging awareness in which the wound appeared, healed, and dissolved. You are the field, not the storm. You are the light, not the shadow. You are the witness of the wound, not the wound itself. And when you return to this truth, healing begins not as an effort, but as a natural unfolding. Let go of the need to explain why it happened. The mind wants reasons. The soul wants freedom. And freedom comes not from the answer, but from the release. You are allowed to not understand it. You are allowed to not justify it. You are allowed to simply say, this hurt me, and I will no longer carry it. Imagine your soul like a mountain. Wind and rain may erode the surface. Lightning may split the bark of the trees, but the mountain remains steady, silent, immovable. That is who you are, beneath it all. You may have been bruised, but you were never broken. You may have fallen, but you have never failed. There are no wasted wounds. Every one of them carved space for more compassion. Every one of them deepened the well of your empathy. And that is the sacred paradox. The very pain that once threatened to shatter you now makes you more whole. The ego clings to pain because it uses it to build identity. It says, this is what happened to me, this is who I am. But the soul is not interested in who you were. The soul is always whispering who you are. Right now, in this breath, in this eternal now. The soul says, you are light, you are enough, you are free. Forgiveness is not condoning, forgiveness is not forgetting, forgiveness is freedom. It is the sacred act of saying, I choose peace over poison. I choose truth over story. I choose to no longer bleed from a wound I did not inflict. That choice is yours. It always has been. Healing is not becoming invincible. It's becoming transparent, letting the light pass through you again, letting love flow again, letting the river of grace wash away the debris of identity until all that remains is presence, naked, real, awake. You are not your wounds. You are the open sky into which the clouds of sorrow have passed. You are the sacred observer, the divine breath behind the grief, the untouched spirit beneath the trauma. That is why nothing you've ever gone through has managed to extinguish you, because you are eternal. And even now, in this moment, with everything you carry, you are whole. You don't need fixing, you need remembering. You need to remember that you came here not to stay safe, but to be free. Not to avoid pain, but to transcend it. Not to live without scars, but to learn that scars do not diminish the soul, they illuminate it. When you begin to see your pain not as the end of your story, but as a sacred sentence in a much larger book, everything changes. Suddenly the tears were necessary. The silence was sacred. The darkness was divine. Because they brought you here to this moment where you can finally say, I am not my wounds. I am not my story. I am not my fear. I am love remembering itself. I am presence awakening to itself. I am spirit, infinite, eternal, whole. And so are you. You are not your wounds. The world may have told you otherwise. It may have pointed at your scars and tried to name them failure. It may have seen your tenderness as weakness, your silence as defeat. But that was the world speaking from its own fear. That was the world forgetting its own light. You must not listen to the echo of unawakened minds. Listen instead to the silence within you that has never forgotten who you truly are. You are not the brokenness. You are the one who survived it. And even more than survival, you are the one who transformed because of it. The caterpillar does not curse the cocoon. It surrenders to the darkness because it knows in some eternal place beyond the mind that the wings are coming. What feels like death is often just the shedding of an old self. What feels like collapse is often the beginning of becoming. Trust this. Pain is not the absence of God. Pain is the voice of your spirit calling you home. Home not to safety, but to surrender. Home not to avoidance, but to awareness. Home to the part of you that remains untouched by all that has ever happened. Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. When you stop resisting your wound, it stops ruling your life. When you stop fighting what hurt you, you begin to uncover what healed you. You are not your wounds. You are the timeless breath behind the pain, the breath that has been with you through every tear, through every disappointment, through every closed door. That breath is God whispering, I never left. You've felt lost, we all have. But how can you ever truly be lost when what you're seeking lives within you? You search for healing, but healing is the return to your own being. Not the self made of memory and fear, but the self made of awareness and light. You are not here to carry your suffering like a badge. You are here to transcend it. You are here to become so deeply rooted in your soul that nothing external can shake the truth of who you are. Do not reduce your vastness to one moment of pain. You are an entire cosmos pretending to be a person, a river of eternity flowing through a temporary form. And yes, this form may bleed, it may ache, but the river flows on, untouched, undisturbed. Let go of the idea that healing must look like perfection. Healing is not linear, it is not clean, it is not always graceful. Sometimes it looks like falling apart, like lying on the floor in surrender, like being cracked open so fully that there is no turning back. And that is the gift, because once you are cracked open, the light inside you has no choice but to shine. You are not your wounds. You are not the childhood you had to survive. You are not the relationship that failed. You are not the words spoken in anger or the silence that followed. You are not the missed opportunity, the diagnosis, the loss. You are not the night you almost gave up. You are the dawn that followed. You are the quiet resilience no one saw. You are the breath that kept going. You are the heart that chose to stay open, even when it would have been easier to close. And that is the miracle. Not that you were never wounded, but that you kept loving anyway. That is the divine in you. You are not what happened. You are how you chose to meet what happened. That is where your power lives, not in rewriting the past, but in reclaiming the present. Not in erasing the pain, but in choosing to no longer let it name you. The soul does not want to keep score. The soul wants to be free. So let go, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Release the resentment, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Release the identity built on wounds, not because it was false, but because it is too small for who you are becoming. Release the need to understand everything. Some things are not meant to be understood with the mind, but held with the heart. You are not your wounds. You are the love that was always there. You are the silence beneath the noise. You are the presence that remains when everything else falls away. And so now, in this sacred moment, choose again. Choose not to carry what is not yours. Choose not to replay the story that keeps you small. Choose to remember that you are infinite. Choose to rise. Because every time you rise, not in spite of your pain, but through it, you teach the world what healing really looks like. You become a lighthouse for others still lost in the storm. You become a reminder that love is stronger than fear, that presence is more powerful than pain, that spirit cannot be broken. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when the soul no longer seeks to be defended. It no longer clings to its history or waits for the world to affirm its worth. It simply rests not in the memory of what has been, but in the awareness of what is. And in that sacred pause, where nothing needs to be added and nothing needs to be erased, the truth stands clear. You were never incomplete. This realization does not arrive with trumpets. It doesn't crash through your resistance with force. It arrives like dawn, slowly, gently, turning darkness into light without asking permission. And suddenly, all that once felt unbearable becomes somehow sacred. Not because it was right, but because it led you here to this tenderness, this openness, this reverence for your own becoming. What you once saw as damage is now the doorway to depth. Not a wound to be covered, but a passage into clarity. And from that clarity, a soft knowing rises a knowing that does not need to be proven or shouted. It is the quiet authority of the soul reclaiming its ground, not as a warrior, but as a witness. You begin to understand that healing was never about going back to who you were, but about releasing everything you never truly were. You are not here to perfect your past. You are here to transcend it. You are not here to edit your story so it hurts less. You are here to outgrow the story entirely. To rise from the page as the presence that authored it, not the character caught in its plot. Let yourself feel that. Let yourself remember that who you are is not confined to the body that trembled or the mind that fractured in the face of pain. You are the stillness behind the trembling, the space beyond the thought. You are the witness who watched the heartbreak and the love that stayed even after the pieces fell. You are what survived. Not in spite of the storm, but through it, with it, and ultimately beyond it. The soul does not fear the storm. The soul understands that every gust of wind strips away what was never yours, that every lightning flash illuminates a truth too long hidden, that the thunder is not a warning but a drumbeat calling you home to yourself. And what is left, once the storm has passed, is not emptiness, it is spaciousness. It is peace, not as the absence of conflict, but as the presence of alignment when who you are no longer pretends to be who you were. There is no redemption in reliving the pain, only in releasing it. Not through force, not through effort, but through remembrance. Because what the ego clutches to the need to justify, to defend, to hold on the soul, gently lays down. Not as surrender to defeat, but as surrender to truth. You do not need to prove you are worthy of healing. You are healing. You are the evidence of life moving through what once felt lifeless. You are the echo of divinity reverberating through a form that has forgotten its origin. But even in that forgetting, grace has never left your side. And grace does not keep score. Grace does not ask, "Are you ready?" It simply arrives. It pours itself into your cracks, not to seal them, but to remind you that light travels best through the open. So now, breathe. Breathe not to fill a void, but to return to the rhythm that has always been yours, the breath that does not belong to yesterday or tomorrow. The breath that does not ask what you've endured. It simply is, as you are, unconditioned, untouched, free. In that breath, notice there is no wound, there is no label, there is no shame, there is only presence. And in presence, all things are made whole. You were never meant to carry your story like a shield. You were meant to live beyond it, like a sky that has finally remembered its own vastness. Your pain was never the problem. Your attachment to it was. And now, even that can be met with compassion. Let your suffering rest. It has done what it came to do. It brought you to this edge, this horizon of awakening. Now, your task is not to keep digging into the earth for answers, but to look up, to see the light that has been waiting to rise from the center of your being, a light that does not chase away the dark, but makes peace with it, a light that knows the dark was never its enemy, only its beginning. You are not here to become someone different. You are here to remember who you've always been beneath the forgetting. And what a glorious remembrance it is when the self drops away and only the self remains quiet, infinite, free. And when you stand in that freedom, even your story changes. Not because the facts are erased, but because your relationship to them is no longer one of bondage. You no longer say, "This happened to me." You say, "This moved through me and it awakened me." This is your power. Not in rewriting the events, but in reclaiming your identity. You are not your wounds. You are the one who walks forward anyway, barefoot on sacred ground, each step a prayer, not for answers, but for deeper awareness. You are the one who stopped waiting to be rescued because you finally remembered you are not broken, you are becoming. And becoming is not a straight path. It is a spiral. It brings you back to what you thought you had outgrown, but this time with eyes that see differently, with a heart that no longer braces, with a presence that no longer flinches. That is growth. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of resistance to it. Your liberation is not found in denying what hurt you. Your liberation is found in no longer confusing that pain with who you are. You are not your wounds. You are the ocean that contains them. You are the sky that opens wider than the clouds. You are the still flame in the center of the fire. You are the unshaken witness, the silent depth, the invisible, invincible truth. And this is the beginning of your return. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred pause between stories, the breath that existed before the wound ever touched you. You are the soft voice that whispers, "I am still here," even after everything else has gone silent. And that voice, that quiet, unwavering pulse of your being is not fragile. It is not wounded. It is eternal. The pain may have entered through the door of your humanity, but it has never reached the truth of your divinity. And the more you remember this, the less power your suffering holds over you. The wound loses its grip, not because it disappears, but because you no longer place your identity inside it. You become vast, so vast, that the wound itself dissolves into the infinity of your presence. This is not philosophy. This is freedom. It is the sacred moment you stop needing life to rewrite what happened and begin allowing life to reveal who you've become because of it. And not in a hardened way, no, not with armor, but with transparency, with the gentleness of one who has let the fire pass through and who now carries light where the weight used to be. You begin to walk differently. You no longer measure yourself by the reactions of others because you understand that truth does not require validation. You no longer shrink when challenged because you are rooted in something deeper than reaction. You are grounded in awareness. You see, awakening does not mean the storm stops. It means you stop fearing the rain. You let the sky do what it must because you found the shelter that can't be touched, the quiet cathedral within where the soul kneels not in suffering, but in surrender. And that surrender is not a giving up. It is a rising into life as it is, not as it was, not as you wished it to be, but as it is in this moment, whole and holy and completely enough. There is no greater peace than this. To no longer need to be seen through the lens of your pain, to no longer offer your past as an introduction, to no longer explain yourself through the trauma, but to let your presence speak for itself. You are not your wounds. You are the silence that does not seek applause. You are the love that did not shut down when the world forgot how to love. You are the steady flame that has learned how to glow in the absence of fuel. That is your miracle. That is your truth, and it cannot be taken. So now breathe again. Feel that breath as if it is the first. Feel it not as survival, but as a sacred choice. Each inhale a testament that you belong here. Each exhale a release of the weight that was never yours to carry. You do not need to hold on to your suffering to honor it. You honor it by living freely. You honor it by laughing fully. You honor it by loving with your whole being, knowing that you have earned this joy, not in spite of what you've been through, but because you had the courage to return to joy anyway. And now the time for waiting is over. You've waited long enough to be chosen. You've waited long enough to feel whole. You've waited long enough to begin, but you were never waiting for something outside you. You were waiting for your own return. And here you are, not perfect, not fixed, but real, unedited, unapologetic, unbound. You are the evidence that light is stronger than history. You are the embodiment of a soul that refused to stay asleep. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. You are the resurrection. You are the morning after the longest night, quiet, luminous, unshakably alive. And as you walk forward now, know this: nothing real can ever be lost. And nothing unreal was ever truly yours. The love that remains is the love that is you. The peace that remains is the peace that never left. The self that remains is eternal. And it is that self, beyond the scars, beyond the stories, beyond the names the world gave you. It is that self who speaks now, gently, clearly, undeniably. I am not what happened. I am what rose from it. You are not your wounds. You are the sunrise the night could not stop. You are the breath that broke through silence. You are the rebirth written into every cell of your being. You are the echo of divinity carried forward through time, through tears, through transformation. And now you are ready to rise, not as a survivor, not as a name defined by endurance, but as the presence that was never harmed to begin with. Because what you're awakening into is not a version of you that was once broken and is now repaired. That would still make the wound your origin. No, you are awakening into the truth that your essence has never been wounded. Your soul has always been whole. The pain did not create your strength, it revealed it. The loss did not give you depth, it uncovered it. The betrayal did not make you wise, it simply burned away the illusion that you were ever separate from wisdom itself. You are not the consequence of life, you are the cause of your own awakening. The creator, the source, rising back into recognition of itself. You are the soul, remembering that it was never at the mercy of the wound, it was the light observing it all. And so the old identities begin to fall away. The story of I am the abandoned one, gone. The story of I am the one who failed, gone. The story of I am the one they hurt, gone. And in the sacred quiet, beneath those voices, a new truth emerges. Not new because it was created, but new because you finally stopped looking away from it. A truth so simple, so clear, so alive, it feels like coming home. I am not what happened to me. I am what remains. The silence that listens, the love that keeps opening, the stillness that never flinched. And in this space here, now there is no effort required. There is no proving. There is no defense, because the soul has nothing to protect. It simply is. It shines because that is its nature. It loves because that is its breath. It gives because withholding is foreign to its being. When you live from this remembrance, the world changes, not because it stops being chaotic, but because you stop being entangled. You are no longer pulled into the past or hurled into imagined futures. You become presence itself. And presence does not resist life, it embraces it. You begin to see even the ones who hurt you differently. You no longer carry the weight of bitterness. You no longer mistake justice for vengeance. You no longer see your pain as a weapon or your healing as a performance. You begin to love them, not to excuse them, but because you no longer fear them. You see them through the eyes of the soul. And that is the final gift of awakening. Forgiveness, not the kind that demands forgetting, but the kind that no longer requires remembering. You forgive not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Because every ounce of energy you spend on resentment is a breath you steal from your own becoming. Forgiveness is not a release of them. It is a return to you, to the quiet garden of your own being, to the soft river that still flows, to the divine light that never once dimmed. And once you have returned, truly returned, you will find something unexpected. Gratitude, not gratitude for the wound, but gratitude through the wound. You'll see how it brought you to the edge of yourself. You'll see how it burned away every lie. You'll see how it left you with nothing but truth. And in that emptiness, you are finally free. Free to remember what you are. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred stillness that remains when everything else falls away. You are the soul that made it through. You are the presence that has nothing left to fear. You are the truth that cannot be undone. You are the one who knows. Nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. Nothing is lost. All is held. All is known. All is love. So now, let the old stories rest. Let the echoes fade. Let the wound close, not as an ending, but as a birth. The time of contraction is over. Now comes the expansion wide, infinite, true. You are not your wounds. You are the space they passed through. You are the eternity that survived. And now you are free. Truly, wholly, finally free.